Hello everyone and welcome to Dynamic, Dazzling, Distinctive, the 3Ds of 3D Comics. In honor of the panel, I had ChatGPT write an intro for us, based off as if Craig Yo was talking. So it's a joke for four of us. Hey there, comic book aficionados. Buckle up because today we're going to journey through the wild, wacky, and wonderful world of 3D art and comic books. Remember those old school 3D glasses with the red and blue lenses? Yeah, the one that make everything look like it's jumping off the page? Well, we're going to explore how that magic happened and why it made comic books even more awesome. So grab your imaginary 3D glasses and get ready for a three-dimensional thrill ride through comic book history. I like that. That's pretty good. All right, let's meet the panel. David, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself to the crowd. Tell us what your favorite dimension is and what months you served as editor-in-chief of IDW Publishing.
Hi everybody, my name is David Hedgecock. I am currently the publisher for Fun Time Go. Also the publisher for really boring tax education online newsletter called Think Outside the Tax Box. And what else did you ask? I already forgot the question. My favorite dimension is time.
Okay. And your era of reign as editor-in-chief of IDW Publishing.
I genuinely don't remember. I was the pre-John Barber era.
Do you co-host any podcasts with anybody up on the stage?
Yeah, I'm also the co-host of the Corner Box podcast with John Barber.
Mason, tell the crowd about yourself.
Sure, I'm Mason Rabinowitz. I do publishing operations at Galactic Worldwide. I make cool 3D comics, picture postcards. At the end, my favorite dimension is space because it is the final frontier. And I have not yet served as the editor-in-chief at IDW, but there's time.
Is it? I'm John Barber. Also former editor-in-chief at IDW. And co-host of the same podcast as David. I'm the editor-in-chief here at Penn at Pub W, and I helped put together and designed the 3D comics that we're doing. When we launch very shortly to the printer with the New Mutants 98. And you guys are picking dimensions that aren't none of the three. Wit. I mean, come on.
Hi there, I'm Chris Ryall. I'm also in the IDW former editor-in-chief support group. I published one 3D comic back when I was at IDW, this Clive Barker one-shot called Seduce, and my favorite dimension is probably Steve Ditko's Dark Dimension.
You did other. There's at least a Transformers 3D comic before I was there.
I did two 3D comics, a Transformers comic and a Clive Barker comic called Seduce.
Hi, I'm Hannah Wall. I work for Anomaly Productions. We're available for hire to 3D your comics too. We do our own as well as others. I'm the studio manager and also working the booth, which is 5558 down the floor. So if you want to come and say hi and talk about 3D comics, we'll be available for that later all weekend. And my favorite dimension is the second one because I'm an illustrator and artist. So that's the one I work with most frequently.
Thank you. All right, I'm your moderator, Nate Murray, publisher of Pan Universal Galactic Worldwide, 2 tours of duty at IDW, and favorite dimension, height. All right, let's find out about the history of 3D comics. All right, 1838, stereoscopic images are developed. 1891, the first anaglyph 3D images are printed. We skip ahead some. 1953 is when Joe Kubert and Maurer filed to patent the first 3D conversion. They call it 3D Illustrio. 3D Comics takes off. And then, I did not know this until we put this together, but that next bullet point of 1954, that's when the boom on this stuff died. So hey, what's up, Eric? So that's when the boom on this died. So the thing that we're having all this nostalgia for is actually a very short period of time. Barber, do you have anything to add for me?
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild that like the 3D comics craze of the 50s lasted months, not years, and destroyed every business that got into it. I guess like Joe Kubert, legendary Joe Kubert, drove a ton of Sergeant Rock, Hawkman, all sorts of amazing artist and amazing artistic family. He was one of the co-creators of it. They were wanted to do I think Tor originally, which is sort of his kind of vaguely Tarzan-y dinosaur fighting guy, which is a cool comic. They did Mighty Mouse instead, and it sold like more than 1 million copies. Like it went to multiple printings, which is like unheard of for comics in the 50s. Within a few months, that company was out of business because they had invested so much in 3D comics, put so many out, flooded the market. All these other companies flooded the market, and they wound up selling like single-digit percentages of print runs, which is real bad. And it ended fast. So did the 3D movie phase, or craze at that point too. So it's funny that it kind of comes back here and there, and then also sort of burns itself out. And I just spent lunch discussing all the things that they try to do in movie theaters that are that make movies less pleasant to be at. That happened in the wake of the last 3D rush. But they're cool in comics. I still really love them.
Was the 3D movie craze close to that era, the 50s too? Or was that later?
Oh yeah,
House of Wax and all that. Yeah, basically Christ kind of reaching out at you and that kind of thing.
I'm not sure if I didn't like totally fact check this, but like what was the Hitchcock 3D movie? Hitchcock directed a 3D movie. I can't remember what it was, but apparently it's like shot in 3D. If you ever watch it, you can see it's all shot in 3D, but apparently it wasn't released in 3D because the craze had died between when they shot it and when it came out.
Well, even like the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the sequel was 3D, and it quickly they went away from that too because I think audience taste is kind of sour on it quickly. Yeah. But like any sort of thing like that, like we always remain optimistic that there will be a better way to do it, and it kind of does get better every time. Like 3D comics now are so much more effective than those or even the ones from the 80s.
Hannah, is the process for 3D comics and 3D movies the same, different? Is this something you would know? Did I put you on the spot there?
Yeah, well, I know this because I have some background in film where it is totally different because for print, we're just operating, again, in 2D. 3D in movies, you're working with cameras. So for camera 3D shooting, you'll have two cameras, I believe, racked next to each other so that they will be filming from slightly to the left or right and merged together, I believe. For a recent film, recent enough, but I know it's being re-released in theaters next month, is Leica's Coraline is being put out in theaters in 3D for the first time, I think, since it originally came out. And that's an even worse, weirder practice because that's stop motion. So they built a customized rig for that one where they had the camera that would shoot its first frame, and that would be the 2D version of it. And then it had an automatic process of moving a few millimeters to the left or to the right to film, to capture another shot. And so they had to film, they took a shot for every single millions of frames for that entire stop motion thing. That was just slightly to the left or right. And I think that was only possible because of the digitized process where they were able to mechanize it, because otherwise if you're trying to do that consistent of a shot over and over and over again in stop motion on such a small scale would be impossible. It's easier if you're doing it in live action because, you just keep rolling.
All right, I'll give you all something to view that isn't just that text. So, all right, on the screen now we have 3D comics starring Mighty Mouse.
I guess when they were originally testing it out or making their first like sample 3D glasses to pitch this to the publisher, they went to the like a drugstore and bought lollipops that had colored cellophane packages. Some were red and some were blue. And they actually used those in the glasses, and it apparently worked.
That does work if you have free.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go. All right, very good.
Nobody
Yeah,
gets scared.
free
That's
glasses.
it's not a real mouse. There's not a mouse running around here. I know it's
Mary Elizabeth, do we have any extra 3D glasses on us? Some people are just not fun. That's the issue. I looked out and I thought it was a giveaway issue. It's a participation issue. All right, carry on. Carry on, everyone.
a t-shirt cannon of 3D glasses.
Absolutely.
So the
Batman on the screen.
Yeah, no, 3D Captain 3D was a Jack Kirby, Joe Simon creation, the creators of Captain America, and Kirby, of course, creator of a lot of other stuff.
And what were Captain 3D's powers, Barber?
Probably to be in 3D. That's a great question. To baffle and confound me? I don't know.
What's funny, because remember Marvel had the 3D Man character, but I don't think they ever did the 3D Man as a 3D comic, which kind of was like a missed opportunity.
I think you're talking to a group who could make that happen. Huh.
Again, my favorite thing I love throwing out whenever 3D Man comes up on one of these panels. I spent so many years hearing Dan Slott saying, and then Triathlon becomes the new 3D Man. During that run of New Avengers, he was so excited about that for like 2 years leading up to that happened. But yeah, I mean, all the Three Stooges is one of the early ones. Batman, in many ways, the D'Artagnan of the Three Stooges. But the technology of it, I mean, this is all black and white. I mean, like we did in red and blue, but black and white images. And that really kind of stayed, I think, really solid. I mean, it was the same basic technology, I think, if anybody knows, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the way through the 80s, where I remember there being sort of a brief, maybe longer, but a kind of a revival of red-blue 3D. They used to do a lot on TV and had a lot of posters like that. I think we jump to the next one.
And we all agree that Jaws 3 was the best Jaws movie, right?
Yeah. I've never seen them. Did they add one dimension per movie? Like by the fourth, it's actually chronological?
Jaws in the fifth dimension, yeah.
This is a book that IDW put out called Amazing 3D Comics that Craig Yo put together. Most of what I'm talking about is cribbed from that. Funny story about that book is I pulled it out to read it, last week, a couple weeks ago. I've always been using the 3D glasses from that book to proof our 3D comics on the screen. But I pulled that out, had it downstairs. My son sees it, he's 5, and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" It's a 3D book. So I give him a different pair of 3D glasses, so I'm not letting him mess with mine. He's 5. But he was enthralled by this book and carried it around with him, and he had to take it to the car when we drove to preschool the next day. He can't read, but he read every page of it, and was just like, "Well, what's your favorite story? You like the one of dinosaurs?" But yeah, the Joe People one's really good. Yeah. But he was super into that book. Highly recommended. It's like maybe 13 years old now, but you can track it down. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of the original 3D comics from those months reprinted, and also some other attempts to do 3D-ish things by doing duo shades on the art, where you're kind of trying to give depth to it. A lot of the ways, if anybody's a video game fan, a lot of the ways people try to emulate 3D environments in video games before you actually had polygons. There's a really weird one that when CinemaScope was coming out as well, but this publisher convinced Alex Toth to draw all these pages where instead of these side, the panels like this, the whole pages bend inward like this to try to give it a 3D effect. I'd seen pages like that and never knew what they were supposed to be doing. I'm like, I wonder what Alex Toth was doing in the 50s. But he was opposed to the idea, but got talked into it. It's funny to see all those attempts.
Alright, let's take a look at something from Pop Junction. This is New Mutants, 98, first appearance of Deadpool, and this is the first 3D comic release from Galactic Worldwide.
No, don't bury the lead. This is also the first time Gideon appeared anywhere. Yeah, that'll be our first 3D comic, literally at the printer right now, unless it's on its way out already. Rob Liefeld plotted and drew it, and Katie Nicieza scripted it. But yeah, first appearance of Deadpool, Domino, and Gideon.
I just got some interiors on here. Hedgecock, do you have any
ever read
on this one? Hedgecock's a very large Liefeld fan.
What do you want me to say? Rob Liefeld's best?
Have you by any chance purchased this comic?
Several times.
No, I mean this
Is it the 3D edition?
Yes.
I actually have purchased a slab CGC 9.8.
Wait, you got a slab 3D comic?
Do they slap the glasses with it?
I pre-purchased. I happen to be a big fan of Rob Liefeld. New Mutants is really cool. And when I heard that a 3D comic of New Mutants 98 was coming out, I got very very excited.
It's too many dimensions.
So excited that I pre-bought a CGC 9.8 slab version of it. So it will be in my house at some point soon, hopefully.
So was Rob involved at all in the process? Like, what did he think of the process of Cedars Art 3D-ify?
Yeah, he hasn't actually seen the art.
He has seen the cover and expressed enthusiasm on social media.
Yeah, and he emailed me and said he was out. Yeah. It's pretty. I mean, Rob's art barely stays on the page as it is, and then in 3D it is, and it's kind of coming at you. It's really good. I mean, it's really fun. We were kind of going through trying to pick not only the stuff that was like what's the right word, historically accurate, time to movies coming out, not just that, but also stuff that was like genuinely in your face, exciting stuff to see in 3D. I don't know, you are the one that has to make them 3D, and I know we don't always pick the ones that are easiest for you to work with.
It's not your fault that everyone likes to do pure color
Yes.
in the 90s. That's the only thing is, if you were to take the new printings and compare them to the originals, you would notice that there's a slight color shift, because by printing pure red, pure cyan, and pure yellow, you can't 3D-ify that process, in the digital version at least, because you need there to be some sort of contrast. So we've done some slight tweaking to make him a little bit more orange or a little bit more magenta, depending on the page.
That's interesting. So can you go a little more into that? The red and blue won't work for your process.
Yes. So just printing in general, then you have your CYMK or CMYK. Yeah. I always flip my Y's and my M's. Those are your color channels, and the cheapest way to do it is to not really mix those as much as possible. So in the 90s and previously, you would kind of go pure in those colors. So Spider-Man, Deadpool, pure red. There's no other undertones in there, because then it's the easiest and fastest and cheapest thing to just have that be entirely red, and you don't have to do a second layer of color over it at all. When you're doing your 3D processing stuff, you have to be able to select out the figures of what you want to be moving forward and moving back. And if you're moving that red slightly to the left, there's no contrast. It'll just look like you have a bad color bleed. So you kind of need it to be like red next to something a little bit more orange or a little bit more purple. There has to be a little bit more color depth in there to actually make it move forward or move backwards. And the same thing with the blue channel too. So all those classic characters, Superman's terrible, Spider-Man's terrible, Deadpool's terrible, Captain, all of them where it's like, it's great, they're really easy, and they pop off the page, but if you're trying to 3D-ify them.
So does black and white, is that complicated process?
Black and white is perfect. Yeah, that's wonderful. Having that black contrast really, really helps, because then you'll get the lovely, clean red or blue outline.
That's very interesting. All right, moving on to our second title. Deadpool Circle Chase #1. That will be out probably a few weeks behind San Diego. That'll be September, I think.
Yeah, the first solo issue of Deadpool. It was a very early Joe Mann art. I think it was his first Marvel issue.
That spread is perfect for 3D.
Yeah, that's great. So no issues with green then? The green looks great. Right?
Yeah, green typically does better, because that has to be a mix of colors to make it work. But yeah, typically if you're going in and you're making your adjustments to your reds and your blues, it will adjust your green a little bit by default, because it's
It's almost like, you do this sometimes with modern stuff, but even in the old 3D comics, sometimes you could have a different image in the red than the blue. So some comics would use the same basic technology, but you'd have different stories. There's actually a strip in the Craig Yo book that's the whole thing is that the panel 1 is the same. Then you close your left eye and read the next 5 panels. You close your right eye and read the next 5 panels, and the 2 stories explain what happened in the other one, because each panel takes place simultaneously. Which is, I can see a lot better out of my right eye than my left, so it's virtually impossible for me to read these things. But it did.
You just have to move it.
Yeah, I did. That is what I did.
So we can solve these problems.
I tried flipping it upside down.
Yeah.
I tried literally moving my nose. But that's almost what happens with a character like Deadpool, is that like you can only see the red out of one of your eyes, right? Like the other one's just, it looks the same as white. Except where they shift the colors and then it works, which is the magic of what Anomaly does.
Photoshop.
Well,
So you're having to go and just get clear on Deadpool in particular. You're having to go in and do a color.
Yeah. It's going into the
Having
main.
to go in and basically do a whole hole on that character in every single panel.
Oh, no. Thank God technology has gotten as good as it has. No, there's a replace color function in Photoshop that you can go in. If we had to do it by hand, we'd charge you guys a lot more money.
Got it. Yeah, of course.
All right, up next I think is going to be a panel announcement. I don't think the news of this book is anywhere yet. It's in the November solicits, so you'll be able to pre-order this soon. And speaking of comics you may own in several different versions, the next 3D comic from Pan-Universal Galactic Worldwide, Jim Lee's X-Men #1, gatefold edition.
well, I gotta say it's really, I was gonna say it's really too bad we only had that one part of the cover.
Boom. There you go. That's all fire.
Yeah, it was gonna be cool. We're gonna have like anybody that had that deluxe edition, deluxe X-Men #1. It's got it's a giant 4-piece gatefold cover, but the inside of it also had a different Jim Lee splash page. It was vertical 4 panels. That will also be in the book in 3D. I don't know if you got that slide of that, but you guys 3D-ified that.
So is modern 3D process, to ask you, like, is this a harder 3D conversion than like a comic from the 60s with less detailed backgrounds, or is it all sort of similar now?
No, it's all pretty. Oh, I didn't even notice that flip down. Hey.
There you go. Yeah.
No, it's all pretty simple. It's pretty much the same process. As long as the original artwork is clean and crisp, it's pretty good because it automatically gets pulled in and the program will recognize the color channels, and that's all we have to use to mess with stuff.
How many different versions of this comic do the panelists own?
I bought all of them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is like this created fans. I mean, this is like a first comic for some of us, I think, and just such a big deal. It's an honor to be making this book for sure.
No, one of our people on our staff is a huge Jim Lee fan, and when these pages came in, I sent it to her, and she was just like, "Oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool, yeah." It really pops off the page in 3D. She's like, "Oh, I don't have binocular vision. I can't see in 3D, but it looks so good."
I was excited about this because I have a hologram of the cover that is in my office, and so I've looked at this in 3D, but in like just one color. There's a silver and gold, but it's virtually impossible to get the color no matter how you look at it. So it's funny to see it in it's like not just 3D, but now in color.
Wait, could you do a 3D hologram? Like, could you 3Dify a holographic cover? It just becomes a real person.
Yeah.
Not that anyone here would buy that if you made it. But, could you do that?
I don't know. There's something out there for everybody, so I wouldn't be surprised. It probably wouldn't be very good given the reflective quality, but like.
Wasn't that how Moriarty wound up on the Enterprise?
All right, are we ready to move on to the next one? This is another announcement, I think. Yeah. Just realized everybody be cool about this. I didn't clear some of this stuff, so. All right. This would probably be January 2025 when this list is there, but Incredible Hulk 340, Todd McFarlane, Peter David.
Probably one of the most homaged covers in Marvel Comics history.
Claws one can't cut you.
The claws one, yes.
Yeah, again, don't get scared.
I was gonna say, we were originally looking to do a different McFarlane book. Oh yeah. John could perhaps explain to you why we didn't do Spider-Man #1 or Ryall. Or our 3D expert anyway.
Yeah, I think Hannah told us we weren't doing Spider-Man #1.
I have no memory of this whatsoever. I do remember though. I thought we did a Spider-Man one.
No, it's because the McFarlane Spider-Man was printed on like deluxe paper, and Marvel had just introduced that you could use what they call K-tones, which is the color black as a tone of color. When they print them, they're printed on the same, like 4 pieces of film for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So what Marvel has is scans of that original film, and scans are super crisp, super nice, but unfortunately there's no way to remove the printing, the dots that they use to print the black halftones on it without literally going in pixel by pixel and cutting it out, which isn't actually like impossible, but it's.
If we get another intern.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Wait, what's Chase doing?
Maybe another 3.
We'll send him a copy.
And you'll get a bill from an optometrist.
All right,
Sorry, so what would happen if you converted that to 3D is that like parts of the color would be in a different plane than other parts of the color. There'd be no way to kind of avoid that.
And I think if I remember right, because it was all flattened too, and I don't think they had the original ink, or yeah, they didn't have the original. So it'd be one thing too if we were able to kind of go in and very lazily lasso things and fill out the colors and be like, we'll just whack the inks back on top of it because we didn't have the blacks.
Yeah.
We were like, ooh, it's gonna get messy and we have to be very precise and very exact. Hence why we were like, the bill will be much higher, let's not do it.
All right, looking even further in the future, this is going to be, I'd say, February 2025. Jack Kirby, Black Panther #1.
Nice.
These pages look gorgeous. We've had these in for a while. This looks amazing.
In 3D, it's another one that's just already halfway there.
Yeah, I can take a look at that. That's
That's like 6 or 7.
Let's go back to that. There you go. How great is that? And we'll have some extra pinups in the back. Well, there's some extra back material. This is shorter comics, so we're doing some extra great stuff in the back.
Yeah, well, Minions and Deadpool both have Rob Liefeld cover galleries in them, and then the X-Men just doesn't have any extra pages. It just crammed the gills of the original X-Men stuff. What we had, but yeah,
Hulk and Black Panther.
Hulk and Black Panther, yeah. Sorry, you could say that.
Hulk and Black Panther will have bonus material. We were just discussing it at lunch.
We were.
Gorgeous.
King Solomon's Frog has never been more relevant and coming right at you right now.
This reminds me, I saw Avatar 1 in 3D in the theater, and mid-movie a woman stood up and started taking pictures of the screen. And something about how striking that is makes me think, I understand the impulse. Unscheduled for now, but we will be going back to Deadpool at sometime next year.
I don't know if this is an announcement. Time to release Deadpool 4, the movie? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I think the rest of it's only
So that's from a different publisher. We've got Image Comics is going to be putting out on October 2nd this year a oversized Treasury edition. So my boss Brian, who is the founder and co-creator of all the Anomaly stuff, had a series Faster Than Light, and there were 4 unpublished kind of mini episodes that we never put out to print. So they're all going to be put out in one big 10 by 13 oversized 3D edition. So we also have a bunch of single issues available at our booth, and I believe also from your local comic book store. We did the first issue of our series, The Marked, in 3D. We did the 12th issue of Sonata, but it is a standalone issue. And then I believe the first issue of Hedgecock we did in 3D too.
Question: were those drawn and created with the intention of being turned into 3D, or were they just standard books that you then turned into 3D? Because those look so spectacular. I was trying to figure out if there was a plan ahead of time, if they were drawn with the intention.
I think potentially. I mean, I don't think that Brian was like, I have to make sure that we have cool panels in here. I think for stuff where we were doing The Marked was the first one that we did in 3D of our own titles, and it was mostly because we were like, we're doing these magic. It's about witches, their tattoos or their spell book, and we had all these really cool magical effects that were going on, and we were like, this just kind of helps elevate it and make it seem even more impressive. And then Sonata has all these Mobius-inspired like flight paths and stuff, so we were like, yeah, if we're having giant flying birds, they should come at you.
think we're just looking at more of those books, but panel, we've gone through kind of the run of what we're publishing. What would be your dream project to see in 3D? I mean, let's start with Hannah, who does the most 3D work, and give the rest of them a little beat to think of something.
I don't get a beat. Dream project in 3D. I don't know. I remember getting Godzilla on VHS, I think, in 3D. So if I could do a Godzilla comic, I would be very happy about that. That'd be cool.
That would be really good. That's a good idea.
Maybe like the Mobius Silver Surfer book that he did.
Oh, wait, yeah. Edit. Silver Surfer Black.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something cosmic like that. Galactus, Luminlar 3D, and just, that lush artwork sort of stuff. Yeah, that'd be great.
That's a really good idea.
We should do that.
We should do that.
Yeah.
So we gotta go.
Yeah, we're down.
You don't get a consulting fee for this, right? Okay. Well, I would. I've actually been thinking. I would love to do a new black and white 3D anthology of some kind with different art styles, different artists, different takes on it. I'm thinking that would be just neat to see as I've been delving more into 3D stuff. My other answer would be the Jack Kirby 2001 movie adaptation.
That's good.
Those were also good. I feel dumb now. We made X-Men #1, so in a sense, to me, that would have been my dream.
X-Men #2.
X-Force #1.
3D trading card.
I'm gonna pass. I'll pass, but I'll come back around. I'll come back around.
No, I think it might be nice to see maybe Jim Steranko's Nick Fury, or maybe Nick Fury.
Oh,
Yes.
Steranko's got such a cool style. I think that might translate pretty well. That's probably what I've done. I think my second choice actually would be that Black Panther #1. Jack Kirby Black Panther is really nice.
Maybe is yours Merlin Realm in 3D #1? So I picked that up for 25 comics for $20, which is the first thing you should do when you walk in the door at San Diego Comic-Con. You get to carry him around all day. But you do have a prop for this, and I'm not going to waste my $20. Sorry.
So it gave me more time.
Yeah.
I was inspired by the drone show yesterday. I'm gonna go with some Kirby Galactus. I think you can't go wrong with that. I want some Kirby Fantastic Four.
That's a good time. Now, do you know, in the 50s, were the comics coming bagged with a pair of glasses, or how did that work?
When you saw them, it said the Batman one.
Yeah, they
They're special bat glasses.
Yeah, that was a nice mold. I wish we could do that.
Yeah, I think they were like folded in into the staples. You know what I mean? Like slid in. And they were also weirdly 3-piece 3D glasses, which even that Byrne 3D book was like that in '89. Those are terrible. This is so much better. You can have one piece and it doesn't fall off. But I think there was a thing that some of those comics would advertise that they had 2 pairs of glasses because the kids would tend to lose the glasses.
Once again, looking at the Batman ones, I picked up a postcard of this cover, though not in spectacular 3D, so not that exciting. But if you actually tied it on, it had a little rope. So it was bat shaped, and you could tie it on as if you were wearing the bat mask.
Oh, sorry.
And wear it all the time, so that everything was in 3D. Yeah.
But I remember when I was a kid, I remember they'd be the halfway die cut. You kind of have to punch them out. I remember having a lot of those 3D posters.
Hannah, in modern movies now, the 3D glasses are clear. Do you know?
No idea.
No idea. Yeah, I knew that was a risky question. Yeah, I knew it was risky.
Well, I do have a funny anecdote about that. You mentioned Coraline. I have a DVD of Coraline from when it first came out on DVD that's in 3D, but it's in red-blue 3D. So they converted it both ways, I guess, or I don't know.
I have no idea why there was the theater version of it, but I feel like that was also the resurgence that happened in the 2000s or I think early 2000s. There was that. There's Spy Kids. There was a There's 4D. We got smells included.
Which is one movie theater.
I'm going through a lot of dinosaur imagery. Which book is this in?
Oh yeah, that's Sonata number 12, available at booth 5558. That's 5558. That's one of the covers, if not an image that's going to be included in that Faster Than Light Treasury Edition that's coming out in October. This is an example of that wink style of 3D. So if you wink one eye or the other, it will reveal a different image. So you get 3 pieces of art in one. Brian's also, I didn't get to snap a photo of this because he didn't have it ready in time for me to send photos for this panel. But also down at our booth for fine art examples of this. So I believe he has some like high quality cheap plate prints that are like, I think there's like a Joker and a Harley overlay wink art piece that he has, and maybe a couple others. There might be like a Harley and a Poison Ivy one too. So same thing, you'll be getting one print, but you technically have like 3 pieces of art.
That's very cool. Yeah, kind of like you're seeing that. You can close your left eye, it's a skull, right eye is a gentleman, both eyes open, it's 3D. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's spooky for Halloween.
Yeah.
Those are the pinups that are in. Those are ones that are in Deadpool Circle Chase #1. One thing we were talking about all the history of 3D comics, and like a jerk I didn't mention Ray Zone, who was like the 3D maestro through the 80s and into the 90s. He actually did the 3D on this. He's actually credited as, not by himself, but credited as the great Ray Zone in the D show. But I think he was like really the 3D person for a very long time. You worked with him.
Yeah, Ray Zone did the Clive Barker comic that we did, and he passed away like a month afterwards, and I felt like the comic might have been the cause. It's a really weird comic, and the artwork was very cool. And it was by Gabriel Rodriguez, who's the lock and key artist. I didn't understand the comic at all, but every page was just gorgeously horrific. You know, Clive Barker story, and the 3D conversion worked great. Like Ray was, yeah, like you say, just a master of his craft for like 20 years, and then afterwards it sort of stopped for a while until, because nobody wanted to touch what he was doing because he was so sort of uniquely good at it. So it's great that, you know, there's places now that can do it even better, and I don't know, I think it's just a fun way to read a comic.
Absolutely. Is anyone in the crowd going to have questions? Because we're tight on time. All right, very good.
You guys think?
Loudly, we don't have a mic for you.
Did you guys think about doing the Marvel poster books from the 90s? They're like magazine sized.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We're like at that lunch we've referenced a couple times. We were literally talking about a particular poster, but that's a pretty good idea. That's yeah. I think I probably made the joke last time about doing the swimsuit special at Ed Moore and that shell. I'm not gonna make that joke here. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'll save it for the podcast.
Great. What is the? I have a question. How long does it take for your team to just on average convert a full comic book story to 3D?
It's way easier when we're not doing the interior art ourselves. If we're just doing conversions, we could probably turn it around in like a week or 2. The big one is that you just have to, because you're going to be working with 3D glasses to make sure that it like looks good, and you're also staring at 3D on a computer screen. The eye strain is like magnified, so that's the only real hindrance. We could probably get it done a little bit faster, but we encourage our assistants and stuff to like take breaks and all that.
Sure.
And then it usually only takes me a day or 2 to do revisions on their work.
If the lettering's flattened on the art, does that cause any problems? Or?
No, because we specifically try to not 3D any of it. We'll occasionally do it for like sound effects. This effects were really fun if those come pushed back or forward, but we specifically, because we want people to still be able to read it without getting a headache, we try to leave the lettering untouched.
I will say from reading the Craig Yoe book, that was a discovery made somewhere in between the invention of 3D comics and the present day, because a lot of those have the 3D lettering and whoa. You know?
I think previously they would probably just take the entire thing and whatever mask they were using for it, because you just would be masking out all of your reds and blues by hand and shifting them or doing another print of it. So now, thanks to technology.
Please.
In converting, how does what colors do you, or how do you do the colors to make them either go forward or go back?
So I'm trying to remember. go into my mind palace and like operate Photoshop in front of me right now. It's muscle memory at this point. So you have different color channels that you'll be able to do, and I believe either way you're going to be using the blue channel, and you will duplicate layers. If it's moving forward, you push the red channel or the blue channel, whichever one it is, I don't remember, to the right, and back is to the left.
Okay.
So we were testing that out because we have some 3D glasses at our booth that are available. However, they don't have the little armbands back there. So we were looking at it and we were going, okay, so red always has to be on the left for it to work. If you flip it, you're just kind of like, it's flat and it's boring. So you always have to have red on the left. No, wait.
It's like that.
Trust me, I'm a professional.
But, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But yeah, now, we also like getting to do it. I think previously it would be, those things would be on one plane of moving forward or backwards, and now because we're able to duplicate and do as many channels as we want, it's not as intensive of a process of having to hand cut and hand mask things for the printing process. We're able to do greater depth of field. So we're able to do things coming out on 3 levels or being pushed back on multiple levels. In fact, that ends up being one of my main teaching points for the people that we handed off, our assistants or our interns and stuff, where I'm like, no, 3 more levels. Push this further, do another one, do another one. Don't just have it be so flat and so boring. I want this thing 3D.
In some of those early ones, not only were they cutting things out, but they were actually, especially in the very early stuff, they were drawing it on acetate. So each layer would get a different sheet of clear plastic, which meant you couldn't like actually use the regular inks you would use. And certain tools you just wreck the acetate or whatever, right? Like you know, a really sharp pen would just cut it. So like that was a problem in drawing it that way. But yeah, it seems very limiting what you're able to do. But there's still some amazing stuff from that era, and some really terrible stuff from that era.
And then I went back to the wink process piece because I thought that was interesting. Is there anything else that you have to consider when doing one of these style pieces?
The biggest consideration I think for the wings specifically is sometimes simplicity is more difficult than overcomplicating stuff. So this is always one where you have to make sure that it looks appealing as a whole image and also works as 2 other separate things. Where there is still also the possibility of having it lead through. So it's difficult when you're kind of being like, okay, well here's my blue image, here's my red image, but you still need to be able to merge those successfully.
Am I crazy, or was there an era where they tried different colors for the 3D glasses?
No, I think we talked about that last year. I think red and green is an option sometimes.
For the 3D.
Yeah.
3D man was red and green.
He was red and green. Yeah.
So if we do that, we should do red and green glasses in that.
But you also shouldn't do that.
I was going to sell 3 to 5 copies to the panel. Panel, do you remember the first time you saw a 3D comic? Was it a movie? Was it a comic?
For me, it was definitely a movie first. Like probably Jaws, or you know what it was? It was Friday the 13th Part 3, where every kill was like the arrow coming right at the screen, that kind of thing. First comic would have been that John Barber Batman. First time I ever saw that in print.
Really?
Yeah.
My first movie, I don't know what that was. I remember I had the Jaws 3D trading cards. I didn't see the movie, but it was like art.
That's parts of the movie.
Comic. I definitely was buying some of the Blackthorn 3D comics, like they had G.I. Joe, Transformers, and stuff at the time. So I definitely saw that. As I mentioned before, weirdly enough, Pub W founder John D. His first job was doing 3D conversion at Blackthorn. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
My first 3D was definitely the Jaws 3D movie, and it scared me to this day. Still terrifying. And the first 3D comic, I had an old Hulk 3D comic. I can't remember which one it was now. Never been very excited at elementary school. You could set up the box outside the classroom with whatever your hobby was, and so I set up mine with all the comics, but then tape the 3D glasses to the front of the class, so you put your nose up against it and look at it in 3D. So that was my one audio visual.
Yeah, movie for sure was Creature from the Black Lagoon. That 3D version of that was the first time I saw a football field with like a full big screen. The entire town came out for this thing, so it was pretty fun. And then first 3D comics, I think, were those Blackthorn, G.I. Joe. I'm pretty sure that was the first. I can't think of anything before that, which I loved.
I'm gonna make everyone else on the panel feel really old. I'm pretty sure Spy Kids 3D was my first 3D.
Also
Yep.
really, really good.
Yeah. And then 3D comic, I think I probably saw some, but they don't stand out in my mind, unfortunately. But when I started working at Anomaly, one of the first ones that my boss, Brian, showed me was he did a pre-viz version for a comic series called Captain Wonder, and that was the one where we used that as the reference point. So it's unattainable to everyone else.
Got just a couple minutes left. Any other questions from the crowd? That's good. Very good. Well, let's talk about what we're working on now. Barber, what's your latest book? What are you completing? What are you starting?
Yeah, so I'm writing a series called Cigna with Andrew Lee Griffith. He and I co-created it. He's drawing it. We used to do Transformers together. We actually have a 3D. We kickstarted the first issue, which will be coming soon. But we had to have a 3D cover on it by Tom Scioli, which is just fun to have on there.
Which we should have featured on this panel.
Yeah, that's a big oops. You can still pre-order that book from our website or from the Kickstarter page itself for Cigna, S-I-G-N-A. Mr. Hedgecock, anything you're working on you want to tell the people about?
Yeah, sure. For the tax professionals in the crowd, go to thinkoutsidethetaxbox.com. Best tax education, tax planning education you can find anywhere. We just wrapped up our first Kickstarter, Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Dirty Fun Time Go. Book one is complete and just came back from the printers. You can buy that at funtimego.com. And also in 1 month we have our next project, which is Miss Mina and the Midnight Arguments. And that'll be our first book for that offering. That'll be on Kickstarter in about 4 weeks. And the Cornerbox podcast. The cornerbox.com, the cornerbox.club.
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's going back. Your next book's going to be on Kickstarter also? You said 4 weeks?
Yeah. Got a fantastic art team. The Jean brothers, XONG, blowing my mind. They're so good.
Awesome. Mr. Ryall, anything you'd like to tell the people about?
Yeah, so the Francis Coppola graphic novel, Megalopolis, I'm finishing that up with artist Jacob Phillips, and so that'll be out late fall, early winter this year, roughly to coincide with the movie. I have an imprinted image called Syzygy, where we do a few books a month, new and sort of reprinting some old stuff, and I'm doing some Marvel archival books, 2 of which are out this October, and one of them just since it's a 3D panel. I have an actual 3D look at one of the books. These are sort of the books that I loved as a kid, and so I've been doing deluxe editions of them and representations of them in nice deluxe formats. So this is one, and there's one that collects all these special calendars that Marvel did back in the day that we did as a 13 by 13 hardcover. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Very cool. That's awesome. Mason, any pan-universal galactic projects we should tell the people about?
I mean, you should pick up Cigna. That's what I think you should do. Kind of hawk Cigna. It's great.
Oh, I have one more name.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. Come On Games, the board game studio. They're at the show, 2446. We have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles exclusive one-shot with a Kevin Eastman cover. All original material comes with a really cool game component if you're into board games. And there's also a Godzilla vs. Cthulhu one-shot that we've done, limited edition, also available at Come On Games. Also comes with a really cool Godzilla game piece. So if you swing on by the Come On Games booth, tell them David saying.
I like both those exclusives. That's cool.
They're super, it's so much fun. They're so much fun.
That's great. And then Hannah, you've mentioned some of your booths so far, but let's talk about that again.
Yeah, so I'll be down talking about 3D comics and all of our other stuff at booth 5558. We're continuing to work on 3D-ifying that Faster Than Light treasury that's going to be coming out in October. I'm also working on writing a currently current or new title that will maybe be coming out sometime in the winter or new year. Brian. Yeah.
All right, and again, Nate Murray from Pan Universal Galactic Worldwide. Follow us on Instagram. That's where you can find a lot of the releases that we just talked about for all these Marvel comics. We have other comics coming out as well. I think our next project that's going to go out to the people is going to be a Kickstarter for a board game called Floppy Nights, based off of the turn-based strategy game you can play right now on several different platforms. That's it. Thanks so much for coming. This was awesome. And I've got one more thing that I forgot about.
If I missed you and you wanted the postcards and glasses, look for the person with purple hair. It doesn't narrow it as much as it would in some other places.
Thank you all very much.